All right, we're live. Welcome, Natasha.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, we were just talking about grocery shopping experiences in Costco and whatnot, which kind of segues nicely into what you do. So, do you want to maybe introduce yourself and what you're all about?
Sure. Well, I'm a registered holistic nutritionist. I've been in business for about a year now. My business now is the Nourished Mama. Um, I concentrate mostly on busy moms and trying to help them to navigate the health world and get them thinking about themselves again. Because as moms, we take on quite a bit. We become the kind of the doer of all, and so it's I felt like it was my job to show moms how to slow down and show them what it looks like to navigate food for their family and for themselves and that kind of thing. So it's been fun.
Awesome. And obviously a member of CrossFit NCR.
And also a member at
Yeah,
CrossFit.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah, yeah,
actually,
yeah.
it's been a year at CrossFit at NCR too for me. So it's been a year of lots of change.
That's
Right. A full year already, man. Time flies. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But so as you introduce yourself, like you haven't been doing this forever, right, Natasha?
No, I was in the public service for almost 10 years. I worked at the Nuclear Safety Commission and danced around in different jobs there, but it just wasn't singing to my soul. I wasn't happy. I did it for the paycheck and I did it for the maternity leave and all of those good things. But at the end of the day, I knew that there was something more for me at least. And my health was I was in okay health, but I wanted to explore ways of looking at things more naturally. I had a naturopath that I was seeing, and she was starting to show me kind of different ways of healing my body and taking care of myself naturally. And so it sparked an interest, especially when I had kids, and how I can, instead of, grabbing the Tylenol right away, how else can I treat my kids if they've got a fever, if they've got a sore throat, or if they've got a headache or things like that. So my interest was sparked, and so we kind of took the leap where I went back to school, and here I am.
Did you go back to school while you were working, or did you quit
So
your job and then go back to school?
it's a bit of a story. My son has cerebral palsy. So I was on mat leave with him. And then he was about to go back or actually was going to be starting school. And we realized that, no, it was before he started school. So we realized that he needed a lot of help and attention. He's going to 3 or 4 appointments a week for different physios, and he's got video, audio, speech. So we had all kinds of stuff that was going on. And while I was on mat leave, it was fine because I had the time to take him to all of these things. But then I was supposed to go back to work. And so we tried to juggle it for the first few months of me going back to work. And I broke down. Like, I couldn't do it anymore. I was trying to juggle his schedule and my schedule. I was giving maybe 20% at work, which I have a hard time with, being an A-type personality. And that was when we had to make like a hard decision for me to be off with him. And so I left on, thank God for the government, they've got all kinds of programs. And so I was on care and nurturing. And so I was off with him for 2 years. And during that time, I thought, well, this might be a good time for me to try this out if this is what I want to do. And so I did. I decided to be with him during the day, and then I took the course at night. Loved it so much that I wanted to just get it over with and start working. So then I decided to do it full time. So it was a kind of a busy time for me, but I was so happy that I did it.
That's awesome.
so
Yeah.
you mentioned that you were working with a naturopath.
Yeah.
So is that I know like you dug into the nutrition stuff, but is that kind of something that you are looking to kind of dig a little deeper into?
Oh, yeah, naturopath would take a lot more years of schooling. It's about 4 or 5 year program, I think, and it's quite intense. I'm pretty happy with the nutrition side of things. If anything, I think I would move into uh, more of the fitness side of it. I think that I would love to even eventually have a CrossFit coaching, like level 1, get my levels. So that would be somewhere I would kind of want to go towards, but I'm not into doing a full naturopathic. That's a big one. I don't think my husband would let me either.
So where does you say you found a kind of a passion for nutrition to heal yourself, and is that why maybe you're kind of appealing to the mothers of this world, mothers of 2, 3, 4, because that's kind of what drew you to nutrition? And how do you kind of appeal to them?
I think that we can relate. I think that I'm going through the same struggles, even though my kids might be a bit older, are getting older. We can all relate. We've all kind of been through a lot of the same things at different stages of a child's life, and the sleep deprivation and trying to manage the household, and then trying to manage work and the household, and then trying to figure out what you're going to feed your kids at the end of the day. That's not just something that's thrown together. So I think that they can relate to me because I'm doing the same thing as they are, and I've been there before, and I've come out on the other side. I don't have it perfect, but I struggle just as much as they do, and my health is important. And that's what I try to kind of show moms that, if we're not taken care of, the rest of the family's going to suffer, right? We all know when mom's sick, like the household kind of shuts down. It can't happen. Yeah. So.
Speaking of that, are you and Paul both at home right now? Like Paul's working from home? Got it.
Yeah. It's been a struggle. It's we're kind of finding our groove, but he's in meetings all day, so he's literally on the phone from the minute, after he does a little bit of schoolwork with the kids, which is really nice, but that's it. He's on calls all day, and so we're trying to work around it as much.
And your business is basically online too, right? So even before this, you were probably doing check-ins with people and on the phone and FaceTime. So how does that work? Like what type of, because I know in the nutrition world, there's different types of nutrition coaching, and what's kind of your niche, not in terms of people, but how do you do it?
Well, it's funny because I started off your typical one-on-one client base, so they would come into my home, and I still take clients that way. But right now my office is our gym, so I'm not taking physical clients anymore. But I'm actually moving on to more of an online platform where I'm offering just a program that had busy moms kind of in mind while I created it. And it's basically meant to be like a group mentality. So everyone kind of signs up and we go through it together. So it's right now I have a 4-week one going, and I also have a 12-week one. And that's kind of how it works right now for me. So I do check-ins, and we have Facebook Lives where I do question and answers for the moms, so they can come up and they have support. They have their own Facebook group, so they can, kind of like the NCR has, where we can just kind of lean on each other and ask questions, and any nutrition questions that they might have or struggles that they're going through. So that's kind of where I've moved towards, because my ultimate goal would be that I could do this job anywhere in the world. So.
That's sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's basically like you're doing more on like a group nutrition than more than a one-on-one now.
So it is a group setting, but when I meet with the client, when I do have one-on-one time with them. So that's where I get to really pinpoint what their actual issues are, because not everyone's the same, right? We're biochemically individual. No one, just what works for Reza may not work for you nutritionally. So that's my time to kind of say, okay, this isn't going to work for you right now. We need to work on this first. And so we're going to take you on a bit of a different path. You're still going to follow, like the concepts are usually the same when it comes to nutrition. Eat your proteins, your carbs, and your fats. But it's navigating, someone might have a digestive issue that I need to clarify, like I need to fix before we move on to anything else. So there is touch points within the programs that I can do that, which is great.
And what types of assessment do you do then? How do we figure that out? All those things.
Good question. It's often I do a questionnaire. So I can usually tell by just a small questionnaire that I send them of, we might get a little detailed here, but what are your stools like? You know, how do you sleep? How is your sleep? How do you feel after you eat a meal? Those kinds of things. So they can kind of those questions can steer me in a direction, and give me a better idea of maybe what's going on. You know, if they're not sleeping at night, I know that there's something going on hormonally, that we need to get them better sleep, and we need to, or they're eating too late at night, or, you know, there could be a host of things that are going on. And so by answering some of the bigger questions, I can start to narrow down and then really dig in a little bit deeper.
Is there something that you find that's like more common in people? Like if you could narrow it down to one or two things?
I mean, I would say most people have some sort of digestive issue going on. A lot of the times that's where I usually start. What else would there be? I think a big one is blood sugar regulation. I think people are eating too much and too often. I think that's one thing, and like, you know, consuming a lot of sugars and refined sugars and things like that. So usually those are the two that I start with. So is making sure that their blood sugar is regulated, because that's going to, you know, cascade and fix a lot of problems if we can start there, that and digestion. And usually it can clear up a lot of other things that are going on that we may not know about, just by doing those two things.
You find yourself like kind of saying simple things a lot to people?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
absolutely.
hey, don't eat sugar and don't eat too much, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So how does that work? How do you say that without making it sound like it's so obvious?
But it's obvious to us. It's obvious to people who are in the health industry and people who are, you know, take care of their bodies. And but it's not obvious to everybody. And that's what I have to remember. And it was hard for me in the beginning, because it's like, stop eating the sugar. Like, you know that you can't eat, like, you know that that's causing you inflammation and it's causing you to not to sleep and all of these things, but you're still eating the sugar. And so my job is to educate. So the way I approach it is, okay, so this is what's happening in your body when you eat at this time of night, or this is what's going on in your body if you consume just carbs in the morning. So if we're just having a piece of toast first thing in the morning, and that's the only thing that you're consuming, this is what's going on in your body, and this is how your body's going to react. So then they get a better idea of like, okay, like, they're not just telling me stop eating these things. There's a reason why. And if I can get them to understand how they'll feel after, then usually they'll, you know, pick it up and they'll fall off track. We all do. I mean, even I do. But I figure education, and then hope for the best.
Isn't that a beautiful parallel to working out in CrossFit?
Absolutely, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
because a lot of the things that we do is just like, it's not just, hey, squat below parallel because I said so, right? It's squat below parallel because of the benefits of it and increased flexibility and range of motion and power. So it's like, it's most of it is all education, and once they understand that, then you're all set. But I guess you're right. It's a little bit of the same thing, right? Even though it is super simple for us, it's making them realize how simple it is the challenge.
Yeah.
So how do you, like, how is that different than, or what you do, how is that different from like any other nutritionist out there? So like, how is your method or your way of doing things, how does that set you apart? Or, you know, have you tried different avenues to see if you can, you know, create some sort of identity or different process?
It's interesting because when we were in school, we're all worried about that, right? It's our concern. It's like, I remember the first day I walked into school thinking, oh, there's my competition, right? Ottawa's not a big town. How am I going to differentiate myself from the rest of the nutritionists out there?
Mm-hmm.
And it really comes down to who you work with. And so I may not work with somebody else just because of their personality. I might not work, like, I might have gone into another gym and it may not have worked for me because of the personalities that are there, right? There has to be a comfort. You have to be able to tell this person a lot of your personal stuff, like what your stools are like that's not easy stuff to talk about. So it has to be a comfort. And so my goal always is to make them feel comfortable and make them feel like there's no shame in where they're at, and that I can help them. And that's my main goal, is to help them. And there's going to be people out there that won't jive with me, or that I won't jive with. So I think that that's really what it comes down to. And then hopefully, word of mouth is what gets you known, and people coming back because of that.
I think that's great that you have that realization right now, because I think it took us a long time to realize that, right, Rez?
Yeah, definitely. It's funny. I'm like,
yeah.
as you say that, I'm thinking about like members that have not stuck around, and I'm just like, oh man, maybe we just didn't chat. You know what I mean? Like
maybe they just didn't like us. Who knows, right? And like, that's another parallel to be made. It's like, it's a relationship business. For you guys, it's like the advice that you're giving might not be all that different from someone else, but it's just like, does that person actually trust you or believe you, or wants to hear what you say? I think that's huge. So, building that human connection I think especially in the nutrition world is even more important than in the coaching world.
Well, we're all coaches, right? So we're teaching just a different method and a different thing and a different way of doing stuff. And I think that that's the most important part, is a connection. And I think that's going to bring your business to where it should be, because you have a connection. I mean, people at NCR love you guys. And so, and then you can tell that it's not just a gym, it's a family setting, and you feel it the minute you walk through the door. And that's the kind of, that's what I try to portray to my clients as well. It's like, I'm here for you. I am here to support you. You're not just a number. You're not just another client. You are important to me, and your health matter to me.
It's funny. I'm listening to you say this, and I'm just like thinking about what you did before you took on this role, and I'm thinking in my head like how much more rewarding this probably is than your public service job.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea. I remember like the first day I walked into the school, even, and just being around people that are like-minded, right? So just like when I walked into your gym, it was the same thing. I felt like, I'm around like-minded people who are competitive and who are still really chill. And so when I walked into the school, it was the same thing. Like, these people, they fit to my spiritual side. So these were more connected to their roots, and people who are very spiritual and, lovey-dovey and talk about their feelings. And I was like, these are my people. This is amazing. And they're worried about the environment. They're worried about all of the same kind of things that I was worried about. And so, that right there was like it for me.
So does that make like the grind of changing careers and changing, leaving a cushioned job and kind of following your passion and going on your own with 2 kids at home, like, I guess that makes it a little bit easier to do, right? Seeing as how passionate you are about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, I'm still only fresh. I'm 1 year into my business. And so it's not all rosy and beautiful all the time, right? There's highs and there's lows, and I'm still in the building phases. So days it's harder than others. And my husband has been very supportive, but he knows first of all, the benefit that it brings to our family, just my knowledge of, cooking and prepping and eating and just health wise, that alone has really benefited us and been one of the smartest things we've done. But yeah, having the support of my family has been huge. And, but that definitely keeps us going, and he sees it. People around me see it. My friends and family see it, that this is a huge passion of mine, and it's not going away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, were you gonna ask, Rez?
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that'd be a cool little segue to like how you found CrossFit and how you're kind of molding, because I think did it not happen kind of at the same time? You make a career switch, huge switch towards a passion of nutrition, and at the same time, about a year ago, you joined CrossFit NCR. So let's talk about like how that all molded together.
So the owner of our school only started CrossFit like 3 years ago. I think you know her, Natalie Riviera.
Yeah, I gave her level 1.
Yes. So she would talk about her CrossFit all the time in class. And, I remember kind of being in that point where I was like, I need to get my strength. Like I wanted to lift heavy things. Like that was like, I had always been searching for something that was going to help let me like lift heavy things. I just wanted to do that. That was my goal. And, but I was terrified of joining a CrossFit gym, because she told me about hers, and, it sounded grimy and, a little bit dirty. And I was used to Greco. So I was used to this clean, pristine, just go, 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 go kind of gym. And then, well, I was talking to Claire, obviously. And so she'd been bugging me for a couple of years, I think. You should come join me. You should come join me. You should come join me. You should come by, because she'd go to the 7:00 class. And I was like, oh, I'd love to. I don't know. And then I just decided, you know what, like, I just got to try it. I just got to try it. Because she took the intimidation factor out. She said, everybody starts at the same level. It's fine. Don't worry. Like, you don't need to be lifting really heavy things in the beginning, and da 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 da. And so I went, and I was scared, and it was terrifying, but I made it through the first class.
That's funny. You say you wanted to lift heavy shit. And usually people who are intimidated, it's like, oh, I don't want to go, and they're going to force me to lift heavy, and I'm going to do things I don't want to do, but like, that's what you wanted to do. So like, why be intimidated?
I think I was just intimidated on just the movements, right? I was used to just a different kind of movement, and I was used to lifting weights, but not in that way. I still struggle with a lot of the movements just because my body's not used to it. And the head, the brain, and the connection, like that, it just doesn't always work for me. But yeah, deadlifts are an easy one to do, and those are my favorite. I just like to lift heavier stuff. And so, it's weird that I was intimidated by it and wanted to lift. I know it sounds odd, but
I think it sounds really cool. Like, it kind of fires me up to hear a mother of two to like come on here and say, like, I wanted to lift heavy things. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like, I'm thinking back to when we were back at the gym, and I feel like every time I coached you in a deadlift class, you PR'd. It's like all
yeah. It's where I PR the most. It's my favorite movement for like ever. Yeah, I love deadlifts.
And in that 1 year phase of starting CrossFit, you're still in the PR phase.
Yeah, totally.
You're still in like, hey, we're getting PRs. Every time we do something, we get better at it. And then it starts to slow down a little bit.
And it sucks so much that, because I was on such a high. My strength was really increasing, and my movements were getting a lot better, and my timing was better. And then COVID happened, and I was like, no, like I'm peaking right now. Like, we're coming into the spring. It's going to be so good, because I know what Rez is going to do to us. He's going to make us run more. I knew it was coming. And I was like, I am ready this year. Like, last year I wasn't ready for all the running. Like, I wasn't there, but this year I was ready. And I was like, oh, you COVID.
You grabbed a bunch of equipment. You can still lift, right?
I just don't have a lot of heavy stuff right now. I've only got some 15s here. So.
Got 2 kids?
Yeah.
Lift them up. Go ahead, Rez.
Well, I was just gonna, given that you were super intimidated to come to the gym, like, if you could go back, rewind a year ago, what would you tell yourself, or what would you tell someone who's intimidated to do CrossFit?
I would go through every warm up. I would tell them what we do on a warm up, right? And that to me is that's what I would think makes it a lot less intimidating. I could tell them, that guy over there with like the big muscles, he starts at the same spot as I do every time. We all warm up together, and we're all on the same playing field in the beginning. And then, we all go off and we do our own workouts, but it's together. And so you never feel like you're not good enough, because we all start with the same warm up.
I've never thought of it that way. You're right.
Really?
I've never heard that answer either.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
That's
all
funny.
Exact same thing at the first part of class, and then we all kind of we still do the same thing, but some of us, that's
Some are quicker than others, and it is what it is. But you have to, you really do have to check your ego at the door. There's no question. I feel like that was something that I had to do, because I have a competitive spirit. I've always been in competitive sports. But I knew that if I pushed myself too hard, I might hurt myself. So I realized that I had to start slow, and I had to really learn the movements first, not put all the weight on that I wanted to, and get there eventually. And I'm there. I was there just before COVID, but getting to spots where I was like, okay, I'm actually doing the same weight as somebody who's been doing this for 6 years now. So I was getting there.
That's
but I had
awesome.
to start somewhere.
That's funny. Yeah, I've never really thought of that. I guess that's something positive out of the way we run our classes, maybe, taking that intimidation factor out of that. But once that was gone for you, I mean, then you're just like, you were sold. I mean, you've been coming almost every single day. You're there at 9:30, with the mom crew. And if you miss the 9:30, then you show up at noon, or so like, when did that switch for you? When was it like, okay, I'm not intimidated anymore, boom, let's go full in, jump in?
It didn't take long. I'd say the first few weeks were like, I couldn't move. It was obviously like a lot of my body, and I was sore. But I guess I just love that the class is the way the class is broken up. So I love that there's a time for skill, and that it's a little more calmer, that we can really work on increasing our weight, like increasing our strength. And then there's that insane sweat till you're dead kind of portion that I know is not going to last 30 to 40 minutes. It's only going to last 10 or 15, maybe 20. And then it's done. And then you feel like dying slightly after, but so good. And we all know it's that high that you get from working out. You can't get it anywhere else. And so to me, that's I just love the way that the classes are structured.
What's your least favorite workout, or like the hardest workout you've done at NCR?
Well, I'm terrified of the ropes, so rope climbing would be one of those where I would be like intimidated. Any overhead squatting, I'm still struggling with. I think that would be another intimidating class for me. But I can't specifically think of one that
like a workout that just like destroyed you.
Oh, the 400-meter lunges, the walking lunges.
Okay.
That was last year.
That wasn't even at NCR. That was just outside here.
No. We did it at NCR too last year around this time, and it was outside. Right. I remember it being outside, and I couldn't sit for days. My husband did it, and it took him almost a full week to recover. He couldn't go down the stairs.
That's awesome.
I'll tell you a funny story. Back in the day when I was, not as experienced in coaching as I am now, for like the warm up of the class, I made everyone do a 400-meter walking lunge overhead. So everyone had a plate overhead. I think Claire did that. I think she remembers that. And people hated me for like the following week after. Like no one could sit down. Everyone was nagging me. And that was the warm up for the class. So it's
we've learned a thing or two.
Yeah.
We've
don't gas them in the beginning.
Yeah. I think what's really cool, Natasha, is like you're super passionate about working out and CrossFit, and obviously that like molds well with what you're doing with nutrition. And it's just like, it kind of just shows, or you walk the walk. You say you give nutrition advice, but it's not just that. It's like, hey, it's important to move as well. It's important to get out there for your mental health and just for your physical health. So how do you blend that into your nutrition advice, even if you do at all? Like, do you talk about moving and exercise with your clients?
So I'm not just a nutritionist. I'm a holistic nutritionist, right? So
sorry.
No, but I'm just saying that for a reason, because we don't just look at food. Yes, food is the main thing that we talk to our clients about, but I also look at stress on the body and like what kind of forms of stress that somebody might be dealing with. So when I give advice, it's not just on food, it's lifestyle too. So I might give we need to manage your stress. So how are we going to manage your stress? You need to get outside for, 20 minutes a day, at least, to get some exercise, walk in nature, it decreases your stress levels. Or, we need to start doing some yoga to decrease your stress levels. Because some people's adrenals are just like maxed out, that we need to food's not going to be the only thing that we can do for them, right? We need to take care of how they manage their stress and how that manifests itself, because a stressed body isn't going to digest food. And if you're not digesting food, you're not absorbing any nutrients. So there's so many factors that go into taking care of the body. And so if I'm not looking at all those other things, nutrition is useless, right? So I definitely don't just look at food. We look at stress. We look at and working out. I've even seen the opposite, where they're working out too much, and they're not taking the time to rest and take care of their bodies, because we all know that a stressed body it can come in the form of exercise as well. So putting stress on your body with exercise, it's just as bad as working 80-hour weeks and meetings all day and then dealing with traffic and all of those things. It's the same thing.
We've definitely dealt with a couple of people like that, right, Rez, over the years, of just, hey, relax a little bit, take a rest day.
Totally.
Yeah. Like, especially with some of these workouts that you guys are putting out, like, if you don't take a day, I can't walk sometimes. I don't know how I could do another squat the next day,
Well, it's because we've been doing a lot of air squats. I mean, and that's what I said in the video the other day. I'm like, I'm sorry, but it's the time to be doing a lot of air squats.
A lot of squats. Yeah, there's been a lot of squats.
Natasha, so when you take on a client, I'm guessing you're dealing with like individuals who have kids, mostly, probably people who don't have kids as well. But I noticed on your Instagram, you tie in kids a lot as well. Like you give moms like some fun tips to help their kids eat nutritious meals. So like, do you ever get clients where you kind of work with the whole family?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I've definitely had clients that I work with their kids, just specifically their kids. So they might be a bit older. And, they're kind of getting into that teenage year where we used to be able to tell them what to eat, and now they're not following the rules. And they'll, if they were in school, they'd be going out and grabbing a pizza or whatever it was. I mean, we all did it, instead of eating the food that was prepared at home. And so, I would just be there as a pure education, just educational. This is what it's doing to your body. This is why we need these foods. Because I think that's the most important part. If we're not teaching our kids the value of nutrition and the value of good foods, we're doing them a disservice. And so it's my job to show moms how to do that for them, for their kids, for their families. And so if I can put out nutritious meals that are easy to do, then they have no excuse, right? If I can show them ingredients that are still not processed and full of crap and chemicals and all these things, and show them the alternative. Okay, you want to make your kid a mac and cheese? Well, let me show you how to make a mac and cheese that's not full of chemicals and full of fillers and all of that stuff, right? So, because my goal is to support the mom and whatever she's doing, not just her health, but whatever she's doing. So if I can make sure that her family's eating well too, then it's a bonus.
Cool.
And that must take off so much stress too, when you think about it, like the stress of a mom to like make food for the family that they actually enjoy and like, so man, that's good. You're probably giving a lot of moms out there some serious help.
I hope so. It's, I test it with my kids too before I post it. I don't just blindly put those things out there and hope that people like it. My kids definitely, they try out all the recipes that I put together, and some are hits, some are misses, but then some might be hits somewhere else and not a hit at my house. So I have to sometimes just kind of say, okay, well, my kids didn't love it, but maybe yours will.
Yeah. I know Sarah did a couple of your recipes. I don't know, recently maybe. And I wouldn't have no idea or remember anything. I just eat what she puts in front of me. But I remember thinking it was good. So thumbs up on that. Yeah, that's awesome. So during this quarantine, how is the eating going? How's the food situation with the kids, and how's the morale and working out?
We're getting our groove. I stick to my schedule. I'm not eating more than I usually do. I don't, but I have a way of eating, and I don't look at food in a bad way. I always put good foods into my body, and I start that way. And then I can't steer myself wrong because I don't have that stuff around me. Yeah, I have my days where I say, screw it, let's order a pizza. I don't care. It happens, but I'm not eating more than I normally would. I'd say my kids are, but that's just because of, they're bored and the food's there and they're not distracted like they would be typically at school. But, I do my best to make sure we get the healthy foods in as much as we can. And then it just works out. Working out has been a little more difficult because I always had my schedule and I knew when I was going to work out. But now it's managing who's going to watch the kids or how the kids are going to be around, because we've got weights and stuff and it can be dangerous. I know, Paul, it's something you're always worrying about. So yeah, we just plunk them in front of the TV and we get her done. That's all we can do right now.
I love that. And don't feel any shame in doing that.
No,
toss the screen in front of the kid. If it means that mom and dad can work out, do it all day. Because
we're better people for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think I was actually, that's funny you say that, better people, better parents. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine this morning. We hit a session this morning, super early on Zoom. And after, he sent me like a novel, and he was just in there, like a lot of stuff, but in there was like, I'm a better parent if I get my workout in, and then I can actually, I'm less on edge with the kids. I'm just in a better mood. I can get my workout done and then, cook breakfast, and I'm not stressed out of like, when am I going to work out during the day, or when's that going to happen? So I think if there's a tip there, it's like, hey, if you're struggling throughout the day to find time to work out, maybe just get up 30 minutes before your kids do and rock something. Even if it's not anything big, just get something done. And I guarantee you it's going to, like, for your mind and for your stress levels, it's going to help. Do you guys ever do that in the morning, or?
Well, we tried for a little while, but it just, I don't have that same motivation super early in the morning. Like I like a 9 o'clock workout. That's like the ideal time for me.
That's perfect.
We've been going now closer to around 4 o'clock, 4:30, and just getting her done before dinner. So that's harder for me, but that's when we can do it. That's when we do it. What was I going to say? We get up now. We get up early just to have coffee together. That's how we're managing. So we'll get up, and we'll do work. So it's our only quiet time where we actually are clear minds. And so we get up like 5 o'clock. We do some work. We pound down some coffees. We watch the news for like 20 minutes to kind of keep ourselves abreast of what's going on. But I can tell you nothing's really changing. COVID's still around. And that's how we start our day. So we're better prepared, and we're calmer than waking up with the kids and then having them kind of around.
Oh my
first
God.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly like, if it's not working out, I still have to get up before the kids. Because if you don't, then it's like you're getting woken up, and it's just like, to me, it's not a good start to the day. I hate it.
Nope.
You guys should try it. Next time you get up tomorrow, just do like a 10-minute thing, like just to get the blood going, and then have your coffee, or like just do like a 10-minute EMOM of like lunges and air squats. I know we've done a lot of air squats, but see how that goes. So do you find like you're doing that just to kind of, also just spend time with your husband a little bit?
Well, yeah, it's very limited that we can actually have conversation. We don't actually really talk that much in the morning. Let's be clear. Like, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's talking to anybody. We just sip coffee, and that's when I get a lot of my writing done. So because I do a lot of writing, I'm constantly putting content out. So that's my time to just really hammer down on stuff. And then around 6:30, we have a coffee together and just kind of hang out on the couch before the kids get up, because it's a long day after that.
Oh yeah. Speaking of writing though, where can people get a hold of you? Plug yourself a little bit.
So I've got my website, thenourishmama.com, and my handle on Instagram and Facebook is at thenourishmama. So I'm constantly posting new recipes and tips and tricks and things on my Instagram, which also gets posted on my Facebook page. And then I send out twice a week. I send a newsletter out to anyone who subscribes. You can subscribe through my website. And you'll get usually a bit more information there. I get to really dive deeper in a newsletter than I would on Instagram, because we're limited on the amount of characters we can use. But yeah, so that's where you can reach me.
Cool. Awesome. Anything else, Russ?
Yeah, I have 2 questions left. First question.
Oh, let's go.
Will I be seeing Bennett and Sophie on Saturday morning?
Yes. I had to force them this Saturday. Sophie was like terrified of being on video, and I was like, we can turn your video off. Like he doesn't have to see you. Yeah. But yes, you will see them for sure. That's like, yes, absolutely.
They did great. It was fun to have them there.
Yeah. Bennett loved that he could be involved, which was really fun.
Yeah, for sure. My second question is, and I asked, I ask all the nutritionists this, favorite cheat meal, go.
Nachos.
I love that.
100%. We went to Mexico a few years ago, and everywhere we went, I ordered nachos.
Is there?
That's a real answer, because it takes you about less than a second to answer.
Oh, so it is my go-to. Like, if we're having a cheat, I feel like I just need to eat something outside of my diet, nachos are for sure it.
And is there a place in the city that you would say has the best nachos?
Well, where I used to work at the Blue Cactus. So back in the day when I was working there, they used to pile up their nachos like a stack. So then they had like the beans at the bottom, and then it was like layered. That was the best nacho. I have yet to find a nacho that compares.
Yeah, and I haven't found $10 triples anywhere else either.
Yes, it's true.
Didn't Blue Cactus have $10 triples?
Yeah. I was there when they had them, for sure.
You probably served me one day.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, cool. Well, awesome. Thank you very much, Natasha, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was so much fun.
Hopefully we'll see you sooner rather than later.
I hope so. I miss you guys. I miss the gym so much.
We miss you too.
We miss everybody too. Trust that.
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye. No problem.